Study with the Best, the magazine show that's all about CUNY. I'm Tinabeth Piña. Coming up on today's episode, we take a look back at the most compelling stories of the past season. From an art exhibit from Guantanamo Bay detainees to a 104-year-old College of Staten Island student, we have those stories and so much more. But first, CUNY alum Sarah Farrington has been a key member in helping separated immigrant families reunite. Andrew Falzone has more.
After President Trump's zero-tolerance policy separated over 3,000 immigrant families, a grassroots organization called Immigrant Families Together was born. What began with a group of moms in the New York City area, in just a few weeks grew into a powerful national network that reunited more than 10 separated families. We spoke with the founder and a member of the group.
I am Julie Schwieder-Collazo, and before a week and a half ago, I was a writer, editor, and translator, and now it feels like that's a million years away.
My name's Sarah Farrington. I am a playwright and theater maker, if you can believe that or not, doing this sort of explosion of activism work.
It all started with donating toys to children who had been separated from their families at the border and then transferred to the Cayuga Shelter Center in Harlem.
What we heard over and over again, when people would drop the stuff off, they would say, I'm really glad I was able to do this, but I really want to know what else I can do. This just doesn't feel like enough. We have to be able to do something more. I mean, we just sort of assembled this team that came together really quickly and really organically, and in a really, I think, absolutely non-ego driven way. It was just every single person who showed up was like, put me to work, here's what I can do, what else do you need me to do? And everybody just went with it. And it's kind of like every day has been like that. Everybody's just like, okay, I'm gonna own this piece, I'm gonna take care of it, you don't even need to worry about it. And that's been pretty amazing.
After hearing lawyer Jose Xavier Orochena on WNYC radio, Julie figured she could help not only by raising money to pay the mother's bond so they could be released from detention, but also organizing their travel to wherever their children had been taken. The first mother to be reunited was Jenny, who was detained in Arizona while her children were kept at the Cayuga Center.
Julie reached out to him, just a quick email, told him what we conceived of on the porch in Astoria at this drive, and he connected us with Jenny Gonzalez, and then within 24 hours we had a GoFundMe page. Her bail was set at $7,500, and then 24 hours after that...
Ladies and gentlemen, success!
We did it!
We did it!
So this paper, this stack of papers means that Jenny is approved for release today. She's officially been in detention since May 18th. So, yeah, she's on her way. We'll be on her way here soon.
It was bizarrely simple considering how difficult it is for the government to be able to do this right now. And from there, we relayed her across country via a lot of my friends in the theater. Megan Finn, who is a director that I've worked with, she runs The Tank. She has been incredible in coordinating this ride-share system. We broke the cross-country drive into about 5, I think, or 6 legs, and we got her here.
After being detained 6 weeks in Arizona, Jenny was finally on her way to her children, who were still in New York. The team organized a group of supporters and sought the attention of the media and elected politicians the night that she arrived.
Hay muchas madres ahí que necesitan. Me dijeron cuando yo me iba a salir del centro de detención, ahí habla por nosotras, Jenny, dijeron que nosotros estamos sufriendo.
It then took 2 weeks for Jenny to get her children out of foster care. Immigrant Families Together is continuing to reunite families, sometimes working with 2 or 3 moms at a time. And after the families are reunited, the team helps them find a place to live, along with providing the means to psychological and medical support.
I think that a lot of the organizations are just really oversubscribed. They, like Cayuga, for example, are constantly trying to stay abreast of the new developments in policy and legislation and how that impacts their work. And I just think the need is so immense. I mean, I have a friend who's an immigration attorney. When I reached out to her the first time to say, hey, could you possibly take on a case? She's like, I'm already working 7 days a week on DACA cases. She's like, I can't possibly take on one more thing.
Grassroots organizations like Immigrant Families Together are having an impact not only on the immigrant families, but also on those that want to help but are unsure how.
I think we've forgotten that we have power, you know, that's essentially what a democracy is. And it's about a lot of things. It's not just about the project that we're working on right now. It's about voting. It's about less exciting, less sexy things like looking at the very foundations of our educational system and looking at what is it that we're teaching our kids about America and about the rest of the world. And so it operates on so many levels, and there's so much work to be done. And I think it's really about each person looking at, okay, who are you? Where are you at? What are your resources and your skills? You don't have to have gobs of money, although we like the people who have gobs of money and can help in that way. But really, I mean, I think like we've seen, you know, these kids in Atlanta who raised $13,000 like through a lemonade stand, or our own kids who raised like $45 and rented the U-Haul to take the goods, you know, to donate. I mean, I think these are a lot of like careworn, time-worn phrases too, but they are true. Like, the change begins with me and my little circle, right? And so how do I start there and start making impact and then see that ripple out?
We've really upset the detention center because we've given these women hope. And hope is all you need to get through some horrors like this. I know, I'm a student of history. If you can hang on to something that will get you through it, that can be all you need, really. So she's given it to them, and I hope that we've given it to them too.
I said to my 8-year-old the other night when I put her to bed, because I could tell she was starting to like wear from the not having attention, you know, and she was like doing things that were attention seeking. And I said, I thank you for sharing us with people who need us, because we have the possibility to do something really small, but we have the possibility to do something to help kids who can't be with their parents. And if we can do that, we have to do that. And I know that it means that you're watching a lot of Netflix and like eating 5 bowls of cereal a day, but you know, it's temporary, it'll end.
Day to day, we need to be fighting this in some way. I think we need to be very militant about our efforts and our anger over this. If we feel it, it cannot fade away until it's fixed.
The organization just launched a free hotline for immigrants to learn their rights, seek legal representation, and get help finding their children and families. To learn more or to get help, go to immigrantfamiliestegether.com. I'm Andrew Falzone for Study with the Best.
At 104 years old, College of Staten Island student Margaret Ricciardi is living the life of an artist. Maria Valmy has this inspiring story.
I always resented that I didn't have a college degree. And my husband had a shoe business, and we both had said, when we retired, we are going to go full-time and get our degrees. Because if our grandchildren grow up and we're always preaching to them, you've got to have a college degree, otherwise you don't get anywhere very fast. His dream didn't come through, unfortunately. He had a severe heart attack and was gone within 10 minutes.
I'm sorry.
I sold the business and I registered full-time at the college. It was the only way I could keep my sanity. It was such a shock. We had so many plans.
At 67 years old, Margaret Ricciardi decided to go back to school full-time and registered at the College of Staten Island.
Professor Levine, he was such a nice professor. I had all my paints and everything on the palette, and he came over to me. He said, "What are you waiting for?" I said, "I thought you'd teach me how to paint." He said, "Let me see you take the brush, put paint on it, and now get it on the canvas and keep putting paint there, and you'll see something will develop." And I was kind of taken aback because I thought he was going to show me how. But from that day on, I saw what he meant. Things evolve on the canvas as you're getting the paint on. Somehow or other, a figure develops, or an animal, or something comes out, and I loved it.
Margaret obtained her bachelor's degree in studio art in 1986, and in 2017, she received an honorary doctorate from CSI, celebrating her more than 30 years' commitment to her craft.
Some of the kids would turn to me and saying, it's been a long time I've been out of school, and this isn't easy for me. And they were probably 20 years old or 22. And I'd say, really? It's rough, isn't it? And they'd say, yeah, I don't remember some of the things I learned in high school. I said, how would you like it if you were my age and how long I've been out of school? I say to them, you're gonna make it, you'll do well, and before you know it, you'll have your degree and you'll be making lots of money. And they say, yeah, oh, okay.
Margaret also studied art in Italy, and she established the Margaret and Frank Ricciardi Scholarship for Italian majors to be able to study abroad.
Why did you start this scholarship?
First of all, a memory of my husband. He was from Italy. We went to Italy on my honeymoon. I met his family, and then he took me traveling around, and I fell in love with it.
And she still travels to Italy with her large and always growing family.
How many great-grandchildren do you have?
Just had number 17. And I have 2 great-grandchildren getting married, one in August and one in September of this year.
You're busy.
And they keep saying, great-grandma, take care of yourself. You've got to come to the wedding. And I say, I'll try.
And what's an advice you would give about life in general?
Do what you want to do when you think of it, right then. You plan it and do it. Don't wait. Have fun. In life, it goes very fast.
For Study with the Best, I'm Maria Vamy.
In the last few years, Medgar Evers College has seen a growth in their student population. Ari Goldberg stopped by the campus to see where it's coming from.
Medgar Evers College was founded in 1970 specifically to serve the needs of the Central Brooklyn community. And traditionally, it has always been a PBI, a predominantly black institution. But in recent years, there's been a growing focus on broader outreach. And one incident in particular helped galvanize support for these efforts, when in 2015, a Jewish student was punched by a passerby on campus. His friend, student Lakshmi Miraj, was there.
I was next to him standing, and it was actually 2 other girls, and I don't know what we were thinking, but we were all girls in the center parting and pulling him back, and then the guys jumped in. One of the most beautiful things was the response of the students, Immediately students jumped in and, they were like, not on Medgar Evers College campus, we don't tolerate that over here. I had an experience where somebody was shouting hate statements at me, terrorist this, you're gonna blow up this, we don't want you here. And it was actually the first week I came from Trinidad, and I was so frightened, I was in tears, and still nobody stood up on the train, nobody said anything, and I actually stopped taking the train for a while. So I told myself I'm not gonna ever stand up unless something like that happens. So it was just reflex, I guess. It just I jumped in.
That spirit of inclusion is blossoming on Medgar Evers campus, as 3 years later, enrollment from Crown Heights Jewish Hasidic community is at its highest ever. Rivka Seldowitz is majoring in social work.
If I can go back in time and do an education again anywhere I want, I would probably stay and do it again here at Medgar. So I grew up in the religious Hasidic community, so secular education is taught, but college preparedness is not the goal. Getting a higher education was never a dream. I never thought about it, I never considered it. From a very young age I worked.
Like many cultural enclaves, the Crown Heights Hasidic community is traditionally a more insular community. Religious studies often supersede secular pursuits. But Medgar Evers has made it a point to reach out to their central Brooklyn neighbors. Ethan Goligor is the Dean of Liberal Arts at Medgar Evers and has been instrumental in this initiative.
So as of a couple of years ago, with a president who was more interested, I think, than his predecessors in globalizing the curriculum and expanding the population, I think the interest in it has been around for some time. The actual initiative and the forming of committees, you know how academics are, they have to have committees for everything, started about 2 years ago. But it's taking off mainly this year, and I have been put in the position of making it one of my priorities.
Of course, it's one thing for a school to say they welcome diversity, but taking tangible steps to achieve that is something else. And it's not just lip service or a brochure tagline here. One of the things that makes Medgar Evers unique in its approach is something called experiential learning credit, where students with relevant life education can apply that experience for real college credit, all the while catching up with what they may have missed in classroom education.
There are private colleges that toy with the idea, but often it's misleading. They will tell a student, we'll give you credit for that prior experience, but it doesn't count toward the degree. Well, what good is credit if it doesn't count toward the degree? So we're not going to do that.
I felt that there was a safety net here at Medgar. When I was hit with an assignment to write a 2-page paper, you know, comparing articles, I didn't even know how to start thinking about how to format it, you know, and all I had to do was walk into a writing center and I got the support I needed for that. I didn't have to feel bad about not knowing how to do it. It was very natural and organic in the way that I was supported.
And the initiatives are working across the board, as stories like Rivka's have become more common. Not just Jewish enrollment is up, but also Asian, European, Native American, and Hispanic too. And that cultural exchange can be just as valuable as any time in a classroom.
A few semesters ago, I actually hosted a Friday night dinner, a Sabbath dinner, and I had a whole bunch of classmates come. And what we did is we shared our cultures, and we got to learn more about each other for purpose of understanding and just to appreciate each other's culture.
I was able to be myself. I didn't have to take off my hijab to fit in. I didn't have to say something to fit in. I just had to be myself, and they appreciated me for me, you know. That's one of the most beautiful things that I will miss when I graduate.
From Medgar Evers College and its ever more diverse and inclusive community, I'm Ari Goldberg for Study with the Best.
An art show at John Jay College presented the works of detainees from the Guantanamo Bay Detention Center. Let's take a look.
The theme of the show is the ocean. In part, that's because detainees explain to us that they feel calm when they think about the ocean. I asked a former detainee who said, well, our cells are only yards away from the ocean. We can hear it, we can smell it, but we can't see it because there are tarps covering all of the fences. Only for 4 days, once in 2014 when a hurricane was approaching, did the guards take down the tarps. And the detainees spent those days just looking at the ocean. And once the tarps went back up, the detainees started to paint the sea, to sculpt ships, to try and recapture the feeling of peace and freedom from these days. These works are all the more remarkable because of the strict conditions on making art at Guantanamo. You can't have oil paints because those have toxic chemicals. You can't have knives or sharp scissors. At the beginning, they wouldn't even allow them to have pencils. They could only work in charcoal or oil pastels. 2 of the current detainees whose work is on the show are long-term hunger strikers. So the works that they made for the show are things like empty water glasses, bowls of fruit that look like traditional art school exercises, but to me take on a very different meaning when they're made by someone who hasn't eaten in 4 years, who's been force-fed. Almost the most interesting thing about them is on the back, because each of these works has a number of stamps indicating that they were screened and approved to leave Guantanamo by military censors looking for hidden messages in the art. A few months into this exhibit, the Pentagon said that they were changing their policy, that now no art will leave Guantanamo, not to family members, not to lawyers. Even if a detainee himself is cleared for release, he can't take his artwork with him. To me, this is a very mistaken policy, whether you believe the men there are guilty or innocent. If they're wrongfully detained, it's just another abuse heaped on them. If they're guilty, you have to realize art making is the only form of therapy available at Guantanamo. So if you want to keep them sane to face trials, let them keep their paintbrushes. The policy is very disturbing, but the silver lining is that now millions of people have seen these artworks. I've been surprised at how many visitors would say, wait, Guantanamo's still open? And Guantanamo is a very dark, opaque place. We as Americans often don't get to participate in decisions about it. So I think that anything that leads us to think we need to give these men trials instead of holding them indefinitely is a good thing. This show is perfect for John Jay College of Criminal Justice because this is what we do here. We study terrorism. We study the effects of detention, whether it's wrongful or justified. So these works are windows to the soul of men that we really need to understand more about.
Shamanism is an ancient and indigenous spiritual practice often associated with remote and rural areas. But two CUNY teachers are about to show us how shamanism is alive and thriving in New York City.
When, I meet people who live in rural places, Oregon, Washington, Colorado, upstate New York, Maine, and they hear I live in New York, and I tell them, I feel quite often that I'm on the front line of the spiritual and humankind battlefield, because there are millions of people in need, and there are millions of people hurting, and there are millions of people who have emotions that are out of balance or have experienced energetic assault on a pretty regular basis. Okay, now we begin.
Ho, yo, ho, hey, hey, yo, ho, yo, ho. There are a lot of people who practice shamanism in the city. It's a direct relationship with spirit. We don't have to take ourselves to church or temple or mosque. I can be riding on a subway. In that half hour, 45 minutes, however long I might be in transit someplace, I can take myself to a more spiritual realm.
Shamanism addresses the spiritual causes of imbalance within the individual. In some traditions, that's done with what we call plant medicine, ayahuasca, peyote, all sorts of plants that create this altered state of consciousness. The Foundation for Shamanic Studies removed that form of creating an altered state by focusing on the universal traditions of the rhythmic beating of a drum or a rattle.
Tony just had a drum circle the other day. He does them Monday nights, once a month. Rather small. And in that smallness, it's intimate.
The word shaman comes from Siberia. It means he who sees in the dark. All prehistoric communities had somebody who was designated as the healer. The well-being of the tribes depended on the healer, the shaman. If one of the members of that community was injured in any way, psychologically, physically, emotionally, and they were not able to function as part of that tribe, as part of that community. It was the responsibility of the healer to restore them back into balance and wellness for the benefit of the community. And we've gotten so far away from that as we have grown into these very large communities. So quite often people come to me or other shamanic practitioners many, many years after the trauma or the situation which caused their condition has actually taken place.
In New York City, I think sometimes that's what saves us, is that we have some kind of spiritual practice. And for me, it's shamanism. For a number of people that I know, it's shamanism.
That's our show for today. For more information on any of our stories, log on to our website at tv.cuny.edu. Thanks for watching, and I'll be seeing you next season. Bye.